Fire. We think we know what it is, right? It's for warmth or it's for destruction. But what if it's not that simple? What if, in ancient thought, fire was seen as the physical proof of two totally opposite spiritual realities? Today, we're going to dig into how one single element can represent both the divine and the deeply depraved. So that's the big puzzle we're tackling. How on earth can the exact same symbol, fire, stand for the sacred presence of God and the most corrupt, base human desires? I mean, it sounds impossible. But trust me, the answer reveals something really profound about the forces that drive every single one of us. So here's our game plan. First up, we'll pin down what fire actually means in this whole context. Then we'll explore the divine flame and how it connects to love. After that, we're doing a hard pivot to its dark twin, the fire of lust. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at the pretty surprising way you can get from one to the other. Okay, let's get started. To really get this, we have to understand one thing right off the bat. When these ancient texts talk about fire, it's not just a nice little metaphor. They call it an active symbol. So, what does that actually mean? It means the fire isn't just like something else. It is the real deal. It's a direct physical manifestation of a spiritual state. It actively is either a divine, life-giving force or a corrupt, self-consuming one. Getting your head around that idea is the key to unlocking this entire thing. Let's start with the first kind of fire, the divine, what they call the sovereign flame. And you can trace its origins way, way back to some of the oldest stories in the Bible. And of course, the classic example is the burning bush. Right away, you're hit with this huge paradox, a fire that is totally ablaze but doesn't destroy a single leaf. This one image tells you everything you need to know. Divine fire is completely different from anything we know in our world. It plays by a whole other set of rules. So, this divine flame has four really key characteristics. First, it's self-sustaining. It doesn't need any fuel. Second, it's non-destructive, never consuming what holds it, whether that's a bush or a person's soul. Instead, it illuminates things and reveals truth. And finally, it's protective. Think of that pillar of fire that guided the Israelites. It's like a holy boundary. So, if that's what divine fire is, where do we see its ultimate expression? Well, according to King Solomon, who was supposedly a master of these kinds of symbols, you find it in the most powerful force we know: true, genuine love. And he doesn't just say love is like a fire. No, he uses this incredibly specific and potent Hebrew word, sal hebetya. This isn't just any old flame. The term literally means the very flame of the Lord. It's a fire that comes directly from God himself. So what's this vehement flame like? Well, first, it's permanent. It's always growing, always reaching up. Second, it's totally exclusive, a zealous, protective force that won't allow any rivals. It acts like a seal right on your heart. And most importantly, its whole purpose is to purify and refine your soul, never ever to destroy it. And now, we're going to do a complete 180. We're leaving behind that purifying flame and turning to its total opposite, the consuming fire of carnal desire, the kind seen in the rituals of those ancient Canaanite cults. And here it is, the absolute key difference. The fire they used to worship Molech wasn't some gift from on high. It was the exact opposite. It was an outward projection of something that came from within, what's described as a natural state of burning lust. This fire doesn't come down from heaven, it erupts from the human soul. The prophet Hosea gives us this really powerful metaphor of a carnal oven. It's a fire that bakes you from the inside out, a self-consuming heat that's driven by a desire that can just never be satisfied. And unlike that burning bush that wasn't consumed, this oven consumes everything, including the innocent, just to feed its own hunger. So, let's put it simply. One fire is a sovereign gift sent down from God to make things pure. The other is a human invention bubbling up from the dregs of the soul to just consume. The starting points could not be more different. So this brings us to the big final question, right? If a person is running on this carnal fire, are they just stuck? Is that it? Well, according to these texts, the answer is no. But getting out of it requires this tough, refining process for the human soul, which they describe as a vessel. The journey starts in this stagnant, unchanged state, but then comes what they call the pouring, life's trials and hardships that basically empty you out and force you to change. It's through that difficult, fiery process that the soul's natural hardness starts to melt away, becoming like molten liquid. And only then, only in that soft, receptive state, can it finally receive the divine seal, that purifying mark of the divine flame. And that lays bare the ultimate difference in purpose. The fire of lust destroys the body just to satisfy a desire. But the divine fire, it destroys the bonds of evil to set the soul free. Okay, let's bring it all together for one last look. The flame of the Lord, that's a state of divine grace. Its job is to refine and give light. It comes from God, and the result is a seal of ownership, a love so strong that many waters cannot quench it. Now, the fire of lust, that's a spiritual disease, a frenzy. It just consumes to satisfy desire. It comes from us, and its result is a valley of slaughter, like a broken well that can't hold any life-giving water. So the distinction couldn't be clearer. One fire is a divine, refining gift that comes from without. The other is a self-consuming furnace that burns from within. And that leaves all of us with a very modern and very personal question to chew on. Which fire fuels you?